and I let them introduce themselves because they probably know themselves more than I do.
All right, well, I'll start and welcome. I'm Dr. Sharon Kerrick. I'm Assistant Vice President for the Digital Transformation Center here at UofL, as well as a tenured faculty. And I'm just delighted today to kind of continue our conversation in the series for HIVE. And this week we're going to talk about community engagement and really some things that impact AI from community engagement, networking, which are really still really critical, important things in our world. And I'm really honored to have actually a really, I won't say old friend, but a longevity friend that I've had. I was trying to think about this last night. How long have we known each other? Maybe 30 years, something of that nature. So this is Lori Young, and she's our executive director for corporate engagement here at the University of Louisville. And so maybe tell a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of start in on some Q&A.
Okay. I'm the Director of Industry Partnerships for the university. I am out of the Office of Research and Innovation. My background, I've spent 25 years in corporate partnerships. I worked in kind of sales, and I was the top representative for that company nationally for 20 years. And then I decided to go into more manufacturing, where I went into agriculture manufacturing and engineering. And so that's been my background, is always working with big national companies. UofL was a client of mine for 20 years, and I had actually pitched this role to a former president. At that time, they weren't interested, and then they opened this role up about 3 years ago, where we really go out and try to find what corporations need, and then we kind of build that relationship with researchers and kind of deliver solutions that they need, and also help them when they're trying to navigate the university because it's such a big organization.
Well, and I hate to put this part on you, but just to clarify for the audience, so you're sort of the go-to person for corporations, through your office, through you, again, not only to navigate the university, but also to ideate on different innovations and or partnering opportunities, whether it be, in all fields, related, even healthcare, manufacturing, engineering, education, it really doesn't matter.
Yes, and that's what we've tried to create an open, like the front door, so that any corporation can call us, and then instead of them searching for what they need, I kind of find it and what they need. And then when they're looking for solutions and problems, I may go out to their facilities, plants, manufacturing, and kind of look at it, and then I'll come back to the university and give them our best experts to actually deliver the services that they need. And then I do have a person that just does healthcare underneath me, because I really needed someone with that science background to be able to deliver what companies needed.
Yeah, so again, for corporations and or students or people here today, and you think about, what's your worst business problem, really your university, around the country, literally, but University of Louisville can be a really good partner to say, hey, this is one of our biggest problems, even if it's recruiting, retention, outreach, program development. I mean, there's such a wide variety of things, or even patenting things, or developing special licensing and things like that. So I'll encourage people to contact you. I hope you get bombarded.
Well, and that's what a lot of corporations and businesses don't understand when asset having a university is in their community. They only think of the university for pipeline, which we are fantastic at that as well. But we really can help solve solutions. And what's great about the university is that we can put students involved in those projects and solutions, so that they learn the skills that they need when they go out into the field. So it really gives them experience. It helps us, get them ready for the workforce. But then we also can bring our expert researchers or experts in those areas and really deliver unique services to the companies that we have. And we have, such a variety, where I can bring in someone from automation, I can bring someone in from the HIVE, I can bring someone in from our community engagement or economic impact, and I can put all those people together as a team. And a lot of companies don't have that expertise the university has where I can really build an A team for them.
So with that said, again, thinking about outreach and community engagement and things like that, tell us some of the strategies that you've used, and you're obviously very experienced, but you also have been, pivoting, because of the landscape of AI and different, modalities that help us engage, but kind of help us understand some of the strategies that have worked and how you've pivoted really to the new 21st century, 22nd century, I guess, type of interaction to engage people in conversation and partnerships.
So I still use some of the old school methods, but then I bring in, I am a big believer in building partnerships and being in front and really shaking hands and seeing people's faces. I think that's really an important part when you're trying to build a community and partnership. But I have always been a big research person when it comes to before I go into a company. I want to know all the background information, everything that I can find out. So I've always used LinkedIn, the internet, whatever I can find. Also maybe contacted people that are in my pipeline or industry where I can find out really more if they've worked with that company or kind of the landmines or the struggles that they had or their competitors. But now when I use AI, it helps me when companies are always asking how and what to do with AI because they don't know. So I'm learning that landscape as we go forward because they're trying to figure out what the ROI is and also how they can work more effectively. It does help me write agendas and do research on the things I need and do work and activities a lot faster. So I'm kind of a newbie at it, but it is something that I'm really trying to embrace because I need it with the lack of time that I have. So that's kind of how it's been, and trying to help people with those questions and struggles. That's why I can introduce them to Sharon and Adel about how that they can help them wade through those challenges that they're facing as a company.
So we need to talk about, meeting people in person and things like that. So we have faculty, we have staff, we have companies online here. So I know it's a very diverse group, but kind of give us, again, like networking tips, like things, so you've used LinkedIn, you've done all those things, and now maybe you've done an event or two, kind of help us understand, what are things maybe you challenge others to kind of hone their skills in that area.
Networking is very, very important. It is vital for any role you're in, whether you're happy exactly where you are or if you want to move forward in your career. To me, it's always important to be out, kind of meet and hear. You never know who's going to be in the room. So it's a real opportunity to get to know other people that are around you and also have those resources for new companies that you didn't know about that you can bring to the table. But it is really important to be out there. Nobody loves to network. There's not many that love to go to events and shake hands and, put themselves out there. But it is a very important skill to hone and learn because it's not everyone's daydream to wake up and go to all 100 networking events, but you need to really think about how you walk into the room, reach out to the people because there's someone else that may not want to be there as well or feels comfortable, but that's how you get a conversation going and you really learn from those people in companies as well. The other thing that it lets you do is you need to get involved in the associations. Like when I have had taken on different areas, like when I started, I had accounting, commercial real estate, and law firms. I got involved in associations that targeted those areas because I really need to learn their industry, hear their challenges and their strategies and their problems. But it was a great way to be introduced. But not only did I just go to those events, I got on their boards, I took positions. That way I was at the table so that I could learn more and I would be a trusted source in their areas. And I have continued to do that because my industries have changed a lot. Where I was handling commercial real estate, I'm now handling all manufacturing plants a lot. And kind of in engineering areas. And my background coming from engineering, and that was agricultural manufacturing, which I didn't know much about at all tractors. So I really had to get out of my comfort zone and meet with John Deere and meet with different associations and become involved in their boards to help me get the experience and knowledge.
Thank you for that. I'll add to that. Something I always suggest to people, especially students, I'll say, reach out to an association and ask if you can volunteer. And the best volunteer position at the association is to be the person that takes the registration. And guess why? Now, they're coming to you at the desk, and you get to interact with every single person that's coming to that. And it also kind of takes away the filter of if you're an introvert, then you're not going to really go out and handshake and meet people, but they're just walking up to the desk and you're signing them in, and oh, you're with Humana, or you're with GE, oh, you're with whatever. And it gives you an opportunity in a very different way to do that. The other suggestion I always tell people is when I go to an event, or when I try to encourage people to go to an event, it does push you out of your comfort zone, but the challenge would be meet two new people. And you can even tell the new people, say, I challenged myself to have to come over here and meet you and just introduce myself because I want to meet some new people, and people are very gracious about that, especially if you put on, that you have made this challenge upon yourself, that I came to this event because I want to meet people. Because lots of times we all do it. We gravitate to the people we know, and then we're kind of stuck in that corner with just those people. And then we really didn't, expand our horizon. And there's a lot of great people out there. And I've done it myself, even as senior as I am and experienced in doing this. I'll say to myself, I'm going to go to this event, but I'm going to try to meet two new people. And then I'll just go up to somebody and say, hey, I challenged myself, and I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Sharon Kerrick, blah, blah, blah. And again, I've never had someone just be rude or turn away. I've had people always so gracious, like, wow, that's really cool that you challenged yourself to do that, or, something of that nature. And so, again, I encourage you to volunteer with some of these associations. That way, because lots of times I hear from students, oh, I can't pay the fee. Well, all you have to do is call the association. Just look on their website who's on their board, who's their membership board, who's their president. Reach out to them. Say, I'd really like to just volunteer. I'm a student. What can I do to help? Sometimes you have to give before you get. Right.
And I think that's a great point. Checking out their board and who will be at that event before you go makes walking into a room a lot easier. Like if you're able to look at that list before you go into an event, that helps. Also, like I have done lots of training of employees and staff on sales, marketing, and all that. And sometimes I will take them with me to give them an introduction. Whenever I've had a new boss or leadership, I want to take them into the room with me, and I make those introductions. It's also nice to have a buddy if you're going into a room that you don't know. It makes it easier for you all to kind of pal up and reach out to the people you know and they know, and introduce you to others as well.
Well, I'll also say for employment engagement, I see a lot of layoffs. I see a lot of situations coming up, and people come to me all the time and say, I don't know anybody. I want to work for, and I'm just picking Humana, can pick anybody. I want to work for GE. Oh, we have GE here. So I'll say, I want to work for GE. And they say, but I don't know anybody at GE. And so the next thing comes out of my mouth is, what things are they sponsoring in the community? Go to whatever their community sponsored event is, because guess who's going to be there? It's going to be the employees of GE. And now you get to meet them in a whole different environment. And so, fortunately, we have Kentucky Derby Festival has a lot of events. Go on their site and you'll see every corporation represented. And again, you might want to go volunteer at the cycle and hike. You might want to volunteer at the Pegasus Parade or whatever. They're always looking for people to volunteer. But again, guess who's driving all that is those corporations. And I have met so many people by being a volunteer for the Kentucky Derby Festival, so I just advocate that. I've met so many great people, and they're just there to support the community, and again, they're from all different corporations. But again, that's another way to expand your network where it's not so passive as LinkedIn is, which is a little tough, to engage with. I will say I had an interesting engagement recently with a salesperson on LinkedIn, and I have to give her high kudos. I don't know who trained her, but again, her engagement level was not so salesy. It was more of, what can I do to help you? Sort of that give before you get philosophy. It was really refreshing. It was not just so generic, but I actually responded to her because of her interaction on LinkedIn and the way that, she was more, it wasn't just a generic resource, but here's something I thought you might be interested to read. And it was something I was very interested to read, and it was valuable. And I thought, wow. That was very good outreach instead of just a sales call, type of situation.
And that is the most important thing that I think I've learned in my career, and the way I've always been a listener is the most important key to anything, because no one wants to be sold. They want, how can you be a solution provider? And there's been times when I have told clients, I am not the right fit for you. And that came back a million times. They gave me referrals, and 15 to 20 referrals came out of the one person. I told them, this is not right for you. You'll be wasting your money if you invest with this, because I can't deliver what you need. And being honest and listening to what companies need is so important, and is going to help you. Put them first, and you'll figure out how you can work together.
We'll kind of just switch a little bit of gears.
Sure.
Maybe you could talk about, some of the successful partnerships that you've engaged in here.
Sure.
You don't have to use company names if you don't feel comfortable, but just, generically, so then we can better understand, that kind of, not just the outreach and the networking, but then how does it come to fruition, and what have been some of those, I'll say premium relationships and partnerships that just kind of showcase a little bit of that.
Sure. Is that for the university, when I came here, I really wanted them to be an asset to the community. That was when I walked onto UofL's campus. When UofL was doing good, I knew that the whole business community was doing well, because I'm in and out of presidents and CEOs' offices all day long. When UofL was being successful, it plays into our community. Sometimes people don't tie that together. So partnering with companies, my goal was to come in. I looked at the list and I saw all our key researchers or our key donors. They only had one engagement with the university, meaning they were only involved with one part of the university. So if they were doing research, they were just doing research. If they were giving a gift, they were just giving a gift. The way to really be a partner is have them more involved in as many areas that they can, so that we're delivering needs. So my goal is to have a company involved into a minimum of 3 different areas of a company. And GE is one that we work with all over the place. We had done some research with them. And we have done workforce training, with some of the different co-ops. But then we wanted to bring in, how can we do capstones? How can we do different types of research where maybe they've only worked with engineering? We've, put people on boards. Instead of just like having one person from GE be on a board, we wanted to have 10 different people in different areas of GE, because they're huge, and fit boards that hit their different industries, whether it be logistics, where it might be our MEP program, which is a unique program where it helps manufacturers. We've done leadership programs and seminars and panels where GE has spoken on those, where that group only works with manufacturers, but they deliver leaderships, lean, and some of those basic skills, and kind of work with them. But we want to have them in as many areas as we can, so that we can hear more about what they need and really get a feel for that company. UPS, we did a lot with Metro College, and they would give us donations or partnership sponsorships, but we had never done a research project with them. We are doing a huge research project through engineering with helping them how to deal better with one of their lines, and bringing some automation and AI involved into that. So that's how we're really kind of growing to help our partners. Our partners is because we want to see them be successful.
With that said, again, thinking about successful projects and things like that, with the landscape of AI and technology, let's talk a little deeper about, you talked a little bit about how you use AI, but how do you see it, even if you're not using it, but how do you see that impacting, again, in community engagement and others, interactions? What's kind of in the horizon that you see?
So, I mean, with the manufacturers, it's impacting their world a lot with the machines and the workforce and the automation that they need, and not being able to get the staff and hire for the positions, those other jobs that can be automated. So I see a lot of invention going into that. Also, we're doing a lot in the defense space, and I think that is going to be an area that is, obviously is going to be impacted by AI, cybersecurity for all of us in every company and organization. Those are areas where we're trying to build teams to figure out what they're going to need, because the next thing, what they need today is not what they're going to need tomorrow. And we're all trying to figure out what's the best way to use it. And that's why I got people with Adel and Sharon to help me through that, to help those companies see where they can be a partner.
So, I'm sitting here thinking,
I said, give your feedback, because this is your area where you can see and build different things for partners.
Yeah, and I think AI can do a lot of things, but I still believe in the human ingenuity. It's really up to us. How do we figure out how to leverage that to our best advantage, to think new and differently about, and that's just a different way to think. It's just a new challenge that we have, and we can learn from each other. And especially young people that are here, what are some of those things that help push us to think in different ways, but challenge AI to help support us in those efforts. So those are the things I'm always thinking about is, critical thinking, intellectual courage. Those are always first and foremost in my mind, than using the tool behind that innovation moving forward. So lots of times I'm thinking, I haven't even thought of it yet, of what it is that you want to do. What I know is that there's a problem or a challenge, and how can we be innovative on how we actually approach that? And that's where the tools, AI, analytics that we have to utilize.
It is a great learning tool. I mean, that's what it's really helped me when I need the answers and how to learn about different industries fast. It really has helped me be able to put together responses. When I may not be able to reach an expert, I can use the AI to kind of guide me through how to do something. If I break it at my house, I can use it there. But then in my career, I can use it on things that I really need to be educated on, that I need fast answers, and then verify that. I still am a big believer that you need to verify what you learn as well.
Absolutely. And the caveat on all of that is, for corporations and for us as individuals, is pilot, test, and put it out there. What if we could do this? What if we could do that? And challenge the status quo, because those are kind of the unique collaboration and results. And that's why we always approach companies to say, what's your worst problem? That's what I want to hear. What's the thing you think you can't solve? And not because we're know-it-alls, but we're collaborators. And we can use tools like AI to collaborate to get that innovation and move things forward. Again, pilot projects, all the way. And again, not because GE's just sitting here, but also I would say the innovation of like a first build, which is here on campus at the University of Louisville, which is one of the first makerspaces in the country. And I just noticed the other day they were having some events, for makerspace and things like that, and I hadn't been over there in a long time. And I thought to myself, well, that's a good networking to meet different people that are interested in innovation and makerspace. And I'll dovetail that and tie that into is, again, if you're sitting around saying, I don't have connections, I don't have network, Well, you see some of those events, and those are good events that you can just pop into, and you'll meet and see some very interesting people, because again, people that kind of gravitate birds of a feather, they're innovators, they're first movers, and gosh, I don't know how long First Build's been here, 10, 12 years now, a long time.
Yeah.
And so you think back, those things weren't out there. But again, tying it back to AI, we're just in this really exciting time, this chasm of change, to embrace the change, but also to continue to rely on our own intellect to push the envelope of what if, and how can I pilot those different efforts to bring something new and different to light.
And that's a pilot is so important because our division has started using Salesforce, which is a CRM, a customer relationship management system, but they have now implemented AI into their own programs. And so that is new. I have been an avid a user of Salesforce for over 25 years, and now they're putting in AI. So I'm doing pilots to see how it works, how it's going to work with the different features, but it also lets me, if I put in a keyword, it kind of puts the list together of my clients that may be interested. If I put in a topic that we're doing a panel discussion on campus, we could test that and see if it hits the right audience that it's saying you should invite them to this, because we have a huge database of clients that we work with and companies. And those things that they're adding to those features, that it helps me not leave out anyone or think, but then also I'm like, there's no way they'd be, this one hit a wrong, target by accident, but it's good for me to use that because I'm using the pilot and then I'm checking it and seeing what it can do and how can I make it better to make my workflow easier.
Well, and back to AI for everyone. We hosted an event last month for the Digital Transformation Center talking about AI for everyone. And I'd encourage people that are listening, watching, go to the Digital Transformation Center website at the University of UofL. It is a portal that has all kinds of free training, not only for Microsoft Azure and Power BI, but also IBM skills training, AI, and also Google and analytics. We've built this portal that's free to the community, and it's a one-stop shop that anybody can use. I mentioned earlier today, we've had over 70,000 hits on it because it's, again, a curated portal that has all the training there. So I always tell people, there's not a barrier to that. We have other resources that you can use for free training and certificates, and I'd highly encourage you to do that. We'll put the link in the chat. And somewhat familiar with the Digital Transformation Center here at UofL, but again, we've done a lot of outreach to get people to even just use forms in Microsoft Word to automate things, just some basic things like that, but also to the extent of just hosted here at HIVE this past weekend, a quantum class that was free, to help people understand, again, where does that fit? How does it fit? How does it work? What does it do? So I just want to mention there's those resources as well, and AI for everyone. And the cool thing right now is because ChatGPT, these things have just evolved in the last 4 or 5 years to really be user-friendly, AI having been around for many, many, many years, but now we have this interface for us to, use it, and, as everyday users, is that you also have the leverage of, other people to collaborate with and use those tools, and AI is for everyone. But it also is an advantage right now for anyone at any level, because there aren't a lot of experts out there, is that it doesn't matter that I have 40 years experience in IT, I'm learning just as you're learning, so we're at the same point. And so that's an advantage, that, not just historical data and experience, which often does help me, but those that are starting new careers, you're right at the same level. So you're learning quantum, or you're learning those things that can be advantageous to an organization, the same as we are learning at the same time. And then go ahead.
I was going to say on that, why don't you talk a little bit about, because I have a lot of companies that aren't sure what to do. Like, I know I need to know AI and I don't know what to do. help me out. Maybe you could talk to companies. We've talked about kind of the individual users here, but when a company that, and in my role, I deal with a lot of manufacturing that they're using it in machines, but they don't know how else to use it. Maybe you could give them some points or
Yeah.
success tips.
Happy to. So we've done some free training, online and in person. Really, again, start with the basics. And I mentioned Microsoft Word and Forms. Granted, that's not the level of AI, but it is a form of digital transformation and automation that a lot of organizations don't have. And that training is free. So, I'd start with those simple things because then it gets people inspired and excited. Like, wow, we used to have 10 things we had to click on for that, and now we have one because we automated it, and then they feel like maybe a false sense of that they're using AI, but they're really not. So that's my first tip is try something simple, and I give the specific recommendation of Microsoft Forms because there's a lot of free training out there. YouTube videos that you can, just take one thing that you've had to do 10 pieces of paper. We can take that advice here. 10 pieces of paper that we can automate. And so take that one step for simple. And you'll see that it kind of ignites excitement amongst the staff. We had the councilmen folks here at the Metro Louisville. We had one administrative person that, we did that one simple form, and now it's like wildfire. Like she can't stop automating forms, and now she's got the other administrative support people doing it sort of competitively, like, oh, you did this, but I've done this. And I think you'll see that in manufacturing and another thing. And two, you have to dedicate some time to training, and even if it's during the workday. I've always admired that Apple all these years have given people sabbatical, even if it's 1 month, to learn things. Well, every corporation can't do that. We're in competitive environments. But I'll give kudos to Mercer, which is a global HR company. They do a once a quarter learning event. It's like an hour and a half. I can't remember, something like that. But it's a specific hot topic. And I think if companies embrace, again, you can use free resources like the Digital Transformation Center that already has automated presentations about how to use Power BI. Again, it whets the appetite, and you're sort of, bringing the horse to the water. Maybe you can't make them drink, but I think sometimes, people want to excel in their job. So I say that's the second thing is, a little mini training that helps to get people excited about, wow, we're embracing this, and this is really cool. We're spending an hour. Maybe you don't need a whole day, a whole week. I mean, that would be great, but companies aren't going to do that. So that's my second piece of advice. Give them a little bite-sized training module of something that then they feel like, they've got a little power and control, and that they can continue to move forward with that. So just off the top of my head, those were things. Or again, invite experts in, our colleagues or, the university is here to help serve the community. Granted, we can't go do free training for everyone, but we certainly, like I said, that's why we built the Digital Transformation Center, is to do that handshake with the community so it is free and that they can engage with different experts, at different levels and move forward from there. And again, that's a low cost entry point that's really no risk, but big reward,
Right.
Back on the other side.
Right.
I'm going to kind of switch topics. So back AI, everyone, critical, important, got to do it. But I'm also going to mention that cybersecurity is also the other component that is everyone. Cybersecurity, everyone also. From every level, anyone that touches a desktop, it's really important. So I get a lot of companies that say, we had this breach because, it usually happens at the keyboard. And that's because there hasn't been some kind of mandatory or initiated training. And again, there's a lot of free YouTube, a lot of free training that companies could do, a mini 1 hour initiative, whereby they can help protect themselves, which is, if it doesn't happen to you, then you don't worry about it. But it's just another thing I wanted to dovetail onto. Again, new technologies, new emerging technologies, changing landscape, chaos in the marketplace. And those are just two areas that, again, are simple things that we can do as individuals and corporations. That's the other thing I'll say about individuals sitting here. I still, even after a 40-year career in technology, I still challenge myself to get those certificates and badges every year. I at least get 5. And I do that myself because I want to keep learning and make sure that I have relevancy. And so, again, I would challenge you to put that in your 2026 goals. Go to a networking event where you challenge yourself. Maybe you're the person that does the registrations. Pretty passive, but it is a great way to do it. And then also maybe that you get some of these digital badges, these digital credentials that are free. They're free to you. So yes, you have to invest some time, but who's most important to invest time in? Yourself. So, that's a good thing to put on your resume, is that you took one of those certificate classes in cloud or something that you don't know anything about, quantum, whatever it is, or just AI. There's a lot of advanced AI. I've learned a lot by going on to the IBM website, and they have experts that talk about some of these case studies around the world of how they're using AI, and it really stimulates ideas for me when I'm talking to different companies about how we can actually utilize it.
And that's what I do have to say with companies right now. Cybersecurity is probably one of the biggest issues that they're concerned about. It's what keeps them up at night, because it's not, it hasn't happened to us. It's like when it's going to happen to us, whether it be getting employees' data. I have been involved at 2 companies where ransom attacks were in place, and FBI was involved from, bad actors. And so it is something very serious that companies are thinking about, and keeps them up, because those are things that shuts them down. At one company, there had been warnings, and then it pretty much shut down their website and what they do for over 3 months, and the loss of revenue and the things that they had to invest in going forward. It would have been a lot easier to protect up front and know that this is a possibility, that this is going to happen, and how can we safeguard. So if it does happen, what's our plan, and how do we take care of this immediately and get things going?
Thank you. So I'm going to open it up a little bit to the audiences here, if we have people online. What's a question I didn't ask that I should have asked, related to any of that, if it's AI, cyber, or if it was, community engagement? What are things that you guys are thinking about? Thank you.
Thank you for this great discussion. So you have a corporate background, and you also have a community background with UofL. And, from your perspective, this is like a twofold question. One is, what do you think is the biggest barrier for corporations to engage with the community? And second is, how do you think that AI could play a role to eliminate that barrier?
For corporate to involve with the UofL community, or
general community and UofL?
Okay. I don't know which way.
Is it visibility? Is it communication? Is it applicability?
All
of them.
So whichever area you want to hit. I think, and just because I've been doing this so long, and I have worked with UofL on the other side as UofL as a client, and then working with all the companies, because it used to be, I had this plethora of companies, and then I would call UofL and be like, I know you all can do this for them. How can you do this? And so I think engagement and marketing, all that would be a great way, where we need to take advantage of AI tools, how to communicate, how we are a partner. We don't just give students to our companies. We can also do great research and projects and have our students involved with them for a while, so that they get the best student and employee when they come out. And also it's the best for our students, because they get to learn what they really like, and they get to be involved in these projects and see what they're learning is really involved in their everyday studies, and they get so much more out of it. I mean, they just get a lot more experience working with corporations and kind of doing the work that they want. For the university, we're still learning too on how to use it with our marketing and when things happen. And we need to train as well. Some of our staff has been here a while and AI is new to them too. So we're trying to get caught up as well on some of those. So one of the barriers is, learning what it can do for you and the resources. And I think once you have a little bit of success, then they're more open. So I think your idea is really great, like doing some of the self-training on your own, starting off with Microsoft Forms, because that gives you kind of a beginning point. So you have a little success and then you'll know it's okay and you're not going to blow up the system, or this makes your life easier. And then you'll see how much more time you're getting back in your day so that you can do the things that are really important to your role instead of working on a form, a survey. And so I think it's just the education piece, both for corporations, for the university, and for our students as well.
Any other questions just from our audience?
You would, but I'd rather someone else ask.
Okay.
It's a security question. Two companies, not bad actors that would what should they have to worry about? Company's information out somewhere.
A lot. They should worry about it a lot. And
how can you use the internet on it being up?
well, and I think strong IT team. Like I recommend you need people that know their stuff. The industry that I was in, people picked at that industry because they thought that they weren't technologically advanced. Some of those companies really weren't. And some of them know, when you're dealing with John Deere, cybersecurity and the security places they have it in place are way different. And we knew that agriculture gets tacked first because they think it is kind of known that, or thought to be, that industry doesn't have as much security. So the lower end companies, they kind of go for what we've seen, they kind of go for the areas, or the lower end companies or those mid companies, because they know that they haven't invested as much money or dollars and time into those problems. So it is really important to think about your systems and not to have, don't put it off saying we have an outdated system, because that makes you at risk. So you really need to think about, and your information gets out there. I know people that have paid the ransom because they know they're not going to get their data back, it was their clients and information, so they paid it. I know others that didn't, and it really, companies have almost closed or have closed because they weren't protected on that.
Shut down.
Okay.
Information to not be at the hands.
Well, right. And they take that information, they use it. So they'll right. Well, and that's why you need to have a strong protection system in, because they're grabbing your client list and using it, depending on who's doing it.
Unless you
Right. That's right. And you need to
worry.
worry about it. Sorry. Well, let's talk to Sharon so she can fix it.
No. Well, here's kind of some exciting new news at the University of Louisville. The Cybersecurity Center, within this next year, we're getting a new Kentucky Cybersecurity and Innovation director. And there's been money allocated from the state, and there's going to be resources for assessments for small to medium companies. To your point, is that's a lot of times who are targeted because of the very reason you just said, is they don't have the money to put forth an IT staff like a large corporation would. And so those are the most vulnerable. But the exciting news, I mean, sorry it's not here today, but in 2026, you're going to see a lot of opportunities through the University of Louisville Cybersecurity Center, who will be doing and available for outreach and assessments to these small and medium-sized companies to help with this remediation and or training with checklists. Like we just did one free a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Wright and I from the College of Business, and we put together a risk mitigation checklist template for these small, medium companies. Because again, they don't have the resources, but we don't have the resources yet. But with this new cybersecurity center, which is going to be very exciting, that will have a lot more outreach. And Dr. Almagrabi is part of that too.
I may add a minor adjustment. The new center is the Kentucky Digital Innovation Center. The Cybersecurity Center is here, it exists.
Yes.
I'm the director of that. The issue of risk assessment and vulnerability assessment, we tried it as a business before you joined UofL actually. We were too early.
Right.
With Dr. Love, we offered the plan for businesses to assess them for vulnerability, and we discovered vulnerability within UofL at the time, by the way. But nobody wanted to pay because they weren't attacked and the issue was not
Right.
Yet hot. I think now is the time to reinvigorate this, and that's part of the new plan that we're working on, as Dr. Kerrick mentioned. So we have a plan for it. We tried it in the past. It was a little too early, and that's what happens sometimes. You offer a service, it's a little early.
Right.
You offer it late, others have already got it. So we're in this business in a sense, but you have to want to pay.
Yeah.
And many people think of IT and AI and cyber as an overhead.
Right.
Because it's not a revenue generating part of the business. And that's a challenge in how to sell the idea to corporate partners.
Right. And I think corporate partners and corporations now understand because they've seen, and the state of Kentucky is doing a really good job saying we need to do better. We need to protect our companies. We are a state of small businesses and startups and manufacturing, which we cannot have our supply chains go down. And we learned that in COVID too, that you need to protect those supply chains that help our country. And so there is a lot of investment. The security systems have gotten better, just even kind of the free ones, but you need to be it needs to be considered part of your overhead. It needs to be something you calculate when you're doing your budget, because it's important. It's not something you cannot not do, because it's going to cost you a lot more if you lose data, it can cost you your entire business. So it is something that you need to think and have a plan, and also call in the right people. And there are people that are affordable. And I think, we talk about that now, and people understand where before 10 years ago, people did not understand the capabilities. And every day the capabilities get a little more, but we also become more protected. But the next day we don't know what they're going to have to do again. So we have to keep innovating, and we have to keep checking our system as a corporation. We need to look at our systems always, just to be sure. And know how if it happens, you got to have a plan. How do you shut it down? How do you block? And so that they don't lose anything. So you need to have those safeguards in place.
Well, and thank you, Dr. Almagrabi. I just assumed everyone knew Dr. Almagrabi and Dr. Wright, actually, who's not here today. They've been leaders in cybersecurity for many, 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 many years. We just haven't had the resource and the bandwidth, and now with this new money that's coming into this newer center, that's going to allow us a lot more opportunities. So I'm going to end by circling back to, kind of the original premise of, thinking about community and engagement and, what can we each individually commit to today that's different than we did, when we walked in. But what are kind of, some concluding suggestions, remarks that, that you think about?
So, networking and all that doesn't have to be painstaking. Pick some things that you like doing, whether it be like volunteering in a shelter. You are always going to meet and connect with people, professionally or personally. Take those opportunities to get to know the people around you, because you never know where it'll lead. If someone asks you to interview for something, always just say yes. You don't know what it'll lead to or not. You don't know. You just be open. And take the opportunities and get involved, whether it be with something that you're passionate about, whether it be work or just something that you think would help you, give you more knowledge. That's why I've always picked associations that are in my industry. Then I pick things that I just think are fun. I'm a golfer, so I like to do women's golf club. So those type of things, because I want to have fun doing it, because we all work a lot. And so I might as well have fun doing it as I do it as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And we really appreciate all the things you're bringing to U of L, especially this, sort of handshake and front door, as you mentioned. I think it's something that's been really great for the university and something that had lacking, and now we're getting there. So on behalf of everyone, we really appreciate not only your leadership, but also your commitment to the community. And you've done that for a lot of years and produced a lot of great things. So
thank you for having me.